Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to this video, and we are entering the home stretch when it comes to Eternal Weekend US, and I'm putting on this sweet, you can call it a trial, but we're not playing for a buy here. That's very important. So I'm putting on this trial on this Saturday. You have all the details here. You can go and win yourself a ticket for the Legacy main event. If you already purchased one, you can get a refund. Yeah, it's going to be free for all members, $10 for guests, and I already have 35 people signed up. This is going to be awesome, and I hope to see you there. Also, I want to give a quick mention to the guest content that I've been posting over on Metafy. We have primers from the best in the business, Newton on Cradle Control, Sprouts on Lands, Sneak and Show by JPA, Motor Energy by Morsa, Dreadnought by Harain, Breakfast by Larson. This one is incredible. The Reigning Champ from Eternal Weekend EU. And then, of course, Death from Above on Mystic Forge. So combined with all of my own stuff that I'll be updating later this week, I'll be updating Reanimator, I'll be updating Demir Tempo, Bant Nadu, and Jeskai Wizards, and Mono Red Prison. Yeah, I guess there's no excuse to not go and become a member over on my Metafy. But yeah, with all of that being said, let's get into the video. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back. It's time for Legacy. We love Legacy on the channel here. You guys know everything about that. Today, I have a sweet matchup lined up. Matchup meaning me versus a very good friend of mine, Tua, who has recently started a YouTube channel. I hope you want to go and check that out, TrueTempo. So first of all, it's a little bit of a name play on his actual name, Tua, but it's also because he loves tempo decks. And today, we basically arranged a gauntlet here where I'll be bringing the three, I guess, tempo decks in the format, and he'll be playing his version of tempo against it. So we'll be fooling around with known matchups, but not known lists. The first deck I'm going to be battling Tua with is Demir Reanimator, a deck that I've been working on, for a long time. The flex slots in this deck those are essentially down to a double Force Negation. Force Negation is a card that gives you a little bit of layer of defense in the mirror to not lose to Reanimate. Then hopefully you can pounce with your Reanimate, and everything is fun and dandy. But it's mainly a card that's good against combo and Chalice. So that's not going to be too relevant today, but we should play lists that are, that we would play into an open field. That's just the best practice. So, yeah, we have Tamiyo and Murktide as plan B. Raise and Borrow as answers. We're looking to resolve and Entomb Reanimate and make it tough on our opponent. Thoughtseize, Force of Will, Dazes, Wastelands, tons of generic disruption that help us in that journey. Sideboard, the biggest cards for me today are going to be Fatal Push. It's going to be Animate Dead because of life total, essentially. A couple of Bitter Triumphs, and probably the Baragorphs. Maybe I get frisky with Explosives. Let's see about that. Otherwise, the sideboard has some Graveyard Hate and anti-Mystic Forge cards. So, yeah, let's get to match number 1. All right, we're here for match 1. I'm playing against Tua, and yeah, I'm playing Demir Reanimator. I'm on the draw here against Tempo, which is an issue. But yeah, let's keep this hand. Hope for the best. Negation not ideal. One land not ideal. Yeah, let's see. Let's see how we do here. Could get run over pretty easily. Land pass. Huh. What does land pass tell me? That some core steel cutter is coming, maybe? I basically only know that it's going to be red tempo. So I find a land, which is awesome. My opponent can go Surveil here. So let's see. The opponent has some Lightning Bolt hand, Force of Will hand, no threats. Like, that would be possible, right? It's not impossible, and you would keep that against Reanimator. So here's Brainstorm. I'm not going to bite on this because my opponent milled over a land here. You can find situations where biting on this is reasonable. But I don't think you mill over a land if you're looking for more lands. At this point, I will, however, Daze a 1-drop creature. This could look like a Delver flip. Okay, it's not a Delver flip. Let me go Fetch. Go for Underground C so I can actually brainstorm end of turn as well. So let's do this. Daze. Loading a blue. Have to cast this brainstorm now, right? So now I need to think a little bit about getting bobbled. Which card do I want my opponent to see? I guess I'll just show them the delta. That's totally fine. Yeah, here's bobble. It's always good, just good to plan for those things, right? There's no reason for my opponent to know about my hand. My opponent now sees the delta that I'm going to play. And the game slows down a little bit. I'm currently a little bit weak to Murktide Regent Force to Will Draw. But I think that's reasonable. I love that this Underground Sea tells me I can tap it for mana. This doesn't. Same set and all. All right, let's see what the opponent's follow-up is. Wasteland is very annoying. Here's Murktide Regent. So the reason why Wasteland is annoying is I actively don't want to draw my next card, but I think I will now. 4/4 Murktide. My opponent's hand is probably Force Blue card Bolt. Will land, play Brainstorm. I like that. Okay, here's Entomb. Entomb is awesome. And now it's basically just a question whether I introduce Daze into my life or not. Let's see. Put that back. Put back. The question is if this Daze is ever going to be good. I'm going to get wasted. What if I get wasted twice? So right now I can put back 2 lands, or I can put back land and one of the blue cards, but I really want this Brazen Borrower, I must say. Am I end-stepping this Entomb, or am I slowing down here? Will my opponent tap out and play into Daze later? Probably not. So what I could do is get rid of this Brainstorm. Is that insane? Okay, I'll try and get rid of the Brainstorm. Magic's a hard game. Magic's a really hard game. So now, since it's enemy dead, I can actually take some more hits, which is kind of interesting. I'll think about this. So, Wasteland. That works. Opponent has 5 cards. Have to think a little bit about Lightning Bolt and the like. My opponent needs Daze and Force, or double Daze, to beat my play here. That card complicates things again. So maybe the move is now to take a turn. So I put back Brainstorm. Do I want the Brainstorm? That's the next thing. Because I could play from basics here. I don't think that would be insane. So let's plan this. Next turn I go land, fetch double basic, bounce the Brazen. Oh, sorry, bounce with Brazen onto the Merc. My opponent fights. I'm going to fight. And then I'm going to untap Entomb Animate Dead. So the question is, do I want a random card or a Brainstorm in that time span, essentially? And I think the answer to that question is I want a random card. So fetch basic Swamp. Draw Force of Will. Incredible. So now I should probably change my plan to Entombing with backup. Go to 10. Yeah, I think I changed my plan now. This is pretty cool. So if I go to 10 here, I think that's totally reasonable. And then I try and stabilize with Archon. I think this is great. So let's see. The opponent played well, developing the Wastelands, which is good against me surveilling. So here's fetch for island. Cast and tomb. I'll fight all the way here. I'm at 9. So right now, there is some trap available where my opponent thinks Lightning Bolt is lethal because I only have a 1-of enemy dead. So let's see how this plays out. I will force a negate pitching Daze here if I have to. Pretty cool situation, actually. So the problem is I only have 1 force backup now, so if my opponent has double force, I'm in trouble. But you know, that's how the game goes. So let's play like this. Animate dead the Archon. And now I think force pitch. Force pitch Daze probably is the move. Looks like it. Okay, double Daze scenario. That works. I'll pay. So now, yeah, I'm obviously losing to some stuff, right? Here's another Daze. I should probably pitch my negation now. Yeah, force a will, pitch negation. And now force will blue card crushes me, which I think they have. Force blue card lightning bolt as the last cards. So that works, and I cannot pay. And I have to pass a turn. I didn't get bolted down to low life total, as I thought I would. So now I'm hoping to get hit down to 4, bounce this card, and then daze it whenever the opponent tries to replay it, which is next turn. So 4 is not 3. That's very important to understand. Pretty cool game. Chandler into the yard. Okay. Underground Sea is not bad, I must say. So let's bounce that card. Let's play Tameo. And then hopefully daze the Murktide on the way down and start the climb. Pretty sweet game to start out on here. Also, it's very smart of my opponent to let Entomb resolve so they could basically blank force a negation in the picture. So now the opponent has to ask himself, what's my last card? Oh, wow. Great play. Oh, that's also a great play. So now I go Brazen Borrower, Wasteland. And my Daze is back on. So there's some kind of game to be had here. My opponent obviously has the land, so they wanted to make the Daze a non-factor. They play around my Daze here, which is incredible. I draw a Traxa, and the game is probably over now because my opponent has land Murktide. Well played by my opponent here. Letting the tomb resolve and slow rolling the Murktide here is the difference between winning and losing. This is a very good lesson. So now I basically need to draw my one of Brazen. All right. So we're down a game here against Izzet. The opponent played very well. Let's see. I like these cards a lot. And I don't like my counters very much. So that is a clean 9 for 9. Let's see if that makes sense. So I'm not necessarily sure I want all of these Thoughtseizes. They could be a little bit of a liability. So maybe I go like single Daze, just a couple of Thoughtseize. I think that's reasonable. Lean a little bit more into Animate Debt here because of the life total situation. But yeah, that game was insane. Like, I feel like I played very well and my opponent played very well, and then, you know, they end up victorious. That's what you want out of a game of Magic. That was just super fine margins, right? One tiny misstep from my opponent, I easily win. Play draw, probably easily win as well, or narrowly win, or whatever, however you want to slice it. So that's just the thin margins. I like how I played with the basics, the top of my deck, the fetches. I like how my opponent played out Wasteland to disrupt my surveillability. And I was able to disguise my play a little bit with the Animate Dead. But unfortunately, the opponent didn't pounce on the Entomb. Basically because the Animate Dead is a 1-of. Let's say Animate Dead was a 3-of. They maybe fight over the Entomb, which is kind of funny. I had a good read about my opponent's hand, right? Force blue card, Bolt, and then, of course, double Daze was very clutch. And that's how it goes sometimes. And then the biggest one in the aftermath of all of that, to a slow rolled, the Murktide, through one unknown card in my hand. So, yeah, very impressive play. I think it's quite important, like when you play games like that, where you also have to give credit to your opponent, right? 99% of players will lose that game because they get lost in one of those small decisions, right? So I think that was just cool to see. All right, a little bit of Tamiyo hand here. I actually like having 2 against that deck, because after board, the deck's going to be a Bolt and Pyroblast deck. And funnily enough, this is a hand where I like basic. So yeah, my opponent's on a multi 5. I play turn 1 Tamiyo, I can flip the Tamiyo, so once I see my opponent multi 5, it's like I'm just worried about playing like solid Magic, like trait resources, etc., right? So the most likely now is that my opponent's going to prioritize like having threats in the hand. I think if you keep answers, then you're just going to lose a lot, right? Because those answer cards are inevitably going to trade 1 for 1, where the threats could kind of snowball and kill me. So I'm expecting a threat-heavy hand here, which makes my draw, you know, you could argue a little bit iffy here. Here's Chandler. So I did expect that one. Let's see if we can find the land naturally. We cannot, but we find a Daze, which is incredible. I'm going to cast Brainstorm here, and I'm going to Daze back if necessary. And we brick. This is a bad habit to do on camera. Not the best content. So let's see if we can break out of this. So let's see. This Animate Dead is probably atrocious, and I guess I'll let my opponent know about another Ponder, because that's the card I'm casting next turn. All right. That's never what you want to see. So if we cared about winning, that's not what we want to see, but we're here to entertain and educate, right? So it does limit our options. Here's the second land. So we haven't known anything about Delver yet out of my opponent's deck. Okay, so my opponent's a cutter deck. Interesting. So yeah, let's Daze that card because the alternative is probably losing. That resolves. And now Chandler, I guess, cannot attack this turn, realistically. And now it's kind of the same thing, right? Against Bauble. You know, you want to reveal the card you're casting anyway, right? So there's no info to be gained. The opponent cantrips. I cast the Ponder that I know about. Minusing here doesn't make any sense, since then it dies to a Chandler attack. So while this card easily dies to a Pyroblast, I think that's how you should play. Yeah, game one was for sure the main dish. This could end up in garbage time, depending on what the opponent's going to do here, of course. This gets the opponent close to Delirium. Still need an instant in there. So normal play pattern would be something like Pyroblast to Tameo, attack for 3. I guess 2 in this case. This didn't exactly work out, right? I had turn 1 Tameo, draw a card, cast Brainstorm, brick. Ponder, look at 2 new cards, brick. Draw a random card, brick. Yeah, this is not ideal. But yeah, this is also how Legacy is sometimes. Sometimes it just takes a single wasteland, sometimes it takes 2, and sometimes it takes 0, right? And then before you know it, the opponent has 7 cards in hand but can't really cast any, and you're recovering from a double mulligan. That's just, you have to play to your outs, right? So what is to learn about this game is my opponent correctly identified that threats are the way to go. Imagine they have like Pyroblast, Lightning Bolt, whatever here, Force of Will. Then there's no way for them to capitalize on me stumbling, right? And if they end up trading those resources, I'll just be ahead to 2 cards when the dust settles. So my opponent is setting up a situation where me being ahead on cards doesn't matter. They have to play like that. So that is just that's just solid theory. Wait a minute. Did the opponent miss Delirium? They didn't. Okay, perfect. So I draw land here, which is necessary. Otherwise, we wouldn't be playing this game. So that is awesome. Now, what to do? So what I could do now is return Daze. I actually think I should do that. Get back Daze. Cast Bitter Triumph on the Murktide. So this was good for content. Otherwise, this would be super sad. So now I actually have to think about my life total, which is very funny. So do I just discard a Brainstorm here? I don't think that's insane. I'm actually going to discard a Brainstorm. Okay, well, let's kill that card, discard a Brainstorm. I'm trying to save my life total here. I feel like I need a life total to not lose this game. So if the opponent can get... Okay, bolt onto that card. That works. So now the opponent needs a land in the graveyard. Let's see if they can get it off the top. That would be pretty neat. Land or sorcery will do the trick. The opponent's now down to 1 card on the upkeep. Again, very nice timing here from the opponent. Upkeep bolt. Get the, get the selection. They might want that card to keep up the pressure. I keep the card on top. Tamio's dead. So what did Tamio do? It soaked a bolt and some damage. I guess that's great. Here's an attack for 1. 1 card left in my opponent's hand. Here's a Brazen Borrower. So I think what I'm supposed to do now is reanimate Tamio, cast Brainstorm. Brainstorm number 3. I don't think this Thoughtseize is ever going to do anything, so let's get rid of that card. And probably get rid of... let's see. Is it crazy to get rid of a Brainstorm? My play is now land, ponder, shuffle, most likely. Or it's just, I guess, another Tamio. Okay, so maybe we can play like this. Put those cards back. Plus... play that card. So the opponent is 1 off from Delirium. Let's see if they have an end step play here. Yeah, I'm really happy I drew that swamp. Otherwise the game would be over and it would be, you know, this is just better entertainment. So thanks for sticking with me through probably the closest thing you're ever here to me whining. So that is mainly because I want to put on a show. I don't care about, you know, losing this game or whatever. I'll try my best to win it, but it doesn't matter. Here's Petty Theft. So another upkeep interaction here. Well played, well played. Lands now into the yard, and my opponent can kill my Tamio. That works. Or it's a card on top even. So my opponent keeps the engine running here. Tamio is now a dead card. So, and we have another great game here. So the mulligan to 5 is compensated by the fact that I bricked for those turns, and then now we have a great game, right? If I have a good draw, I just dismantle my opponent. What's the fun in that, right? So I like this a lot. So funnily enough, we can now flip Tamio for the 3rd time. I don't think that makes sense, though. So next card down is Thoughtseize, which kind of sucks. The opponent has 1 card in hand. That could easily be some 1-drop interaction they haven't wanted to cast into my Daze, because Daze is a known card. There's something about... I kind of want to stabilize a little bit against these guys. But I'm not sure taking off a turn is the way to do it. Like, I'm talking about hard casting Brazen here. Not sure that's the way to do it. So what happens if I just go Brainstorm here? What if I ponder into something like Fatal Push or something? That would be quite good. Maybe I should try that. Maybe I should try cast Ponder. I think that's solid. Let's see if we have a good card underneath those two. We do have a Bitter Triumph. Bitter Triumph is decent. The main problem is Thoughtseize and Attracts are terrible, so then I just have to, like, you know, cantrip next turn. I'm actually going to shuffle these. Thoughtseize is atrocious. So maybe cast Brainstorm. Yeah, I kind of got a little lost on this turn. I needed to get a little luckier, I think. Okay, opponent's on a tank here with Pyroblast. That's good to think about. It's a good Pyroblast for the opponent. Okay, nice work. So, wait a minute. So what are they doing that into known days? I'm trying to understand. What's the point? So this Daze clears, you know, the Brazen's access. So I guess that works. Okay, so Daze the Pyroblast, return Underground Sea. Yeah. So I even forgot about the Daze here and momentarily. Okay, I'll try and lock in. So let's see what I can get here. Ah, that is atrocious. Yeah, I don't think I can win this game. How do I give myself the best chance, though? I think it's like this. I don't know. This is probably not a winnable game now. Triple Thoughtseize into the mid game. Sheesh. Sheesh, sheesh, sheesh. Not good. So I'm gonna draw another Thoughtseize. And then I just have no chance, right? And my opponent kept the card on top. They're passing. Interesting. All right. That is all she wrote here. I'm just going to cast some Thoughtseizes here on the way out. Those channelers sure got me good here. Let's see. Do I actually have a move here? I play another 3/1 flyer. I can bounce one or trade with one. Yeah, I'm just getting crushed here. Wouldn't cast Brainstorm Response. Interesting. So no 3/1 this turn, I guess. So the opponent will most likely make sure to keep a land in hand, and this Thoughtseize ends up a brick. Maybe my only chance now is to do something like bounce a Channeler, play Tamiyo, that type of deal. Yeah, this was atrocious, atrocious draws. Even when I got going, it was so bad. It was so funny, I drew like a million Tamiyos. Sure, so the opponent found 3 spells. That's annoying. So, bounce 1. Play Tamiyo, pass the turn. Okay, okay, okay. I like playing out this 3/1 a lot from the side of my opponent. Last turn. I feel like I was dead in the water here. My opponent plays a creature. Here's the Channeler. Here's pass. So the opponent kept the card in hand here. I don't think I can crack a clue here, to be honest. I think I need to pass and play Brazen and, you know, get my opponent's creatures off the table. So the opponent could have played Borrower last turn, decided to play Channeler. What does that mean? I want to give my opponent credit for making a good move and not a bad move. The thing about that is, the answer to that question is probably something we cannot beat anyway, right? Pyro. Unholy Heat. Okay, so it looks like the opponent should have played this card last turn. Just out of good mana usage. So now I can't win because I don't have Brainstorm in my deck, I think. Let's see. 1 Brainstorm, 2 Brainstorm, 3 Brainstorm, 4 Brainstorms. And I cannot draw 2 good cards, right? So... Oh, I guess I could have off of Clue. Okay. So we get crushed here. That was I love game one. This game was also just a good showcase of I'm up on cards, but if you brick on, lands early and then you draw out just churn cards, I didn't find like, Murktide, Fatal Push, combo pieces, then you just lose. The opponent played very well, and that's also very important to understand. Also, I learned a little bit about the opponent's deck here. I saw Delver and Cutter, so yeah, a little bit of info for match number 2. All right. Up next, we have one of my favorite decks, my version of Cutter. So I'm working with a little bit of a black splash here off of 2 Underground Seas. So what do I get for the price of 2 Underground Seas, you ask? I get removal spells, I get snuff outs, I get Molten Collapses. Against this matchup, I'm going to be having Pyroblasts and Hydroblasts. So a lot of cards here to aid the matchup, which is pretty cool. Looks like a clean 9 counterspells for 9 awesome cards here. Let's see how that plays out. But yeah, this is going to be cool. Cutter plus Baubles. Love to see it. Chandler and Delver in the 1-drop slot to put on as much pressure as possible. And yeah, let's see how we fare against the Tempo God. All right, next match is upon us. I am playing my version of Cutter, and apparently I'm playing against Cutter on the other side of the table as well. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, let's keep this. We have turn 1 Delver. We have a Daze, we have a Bauble. So yeah, let's get going. Yeah, that previous match was really cool. I'm still thinking about it. Like game 1 especially. Game 2 is just the perfect, like when you're doing content, you want the game to not be a foregone conclusion. And when I pull a mulligan to 5, if I just have a good hand, right, the game is not interesting. But I had a bad hand, and I bricked down a land, and I had awkward draws, so it ended up being a longer game that the opponent won convincingly. So that was certainly worth showcasing. You never know, right? When you press record, you're not guaranteed to get any awesome matches. That's just how it works. So with a 1-drop in play, I'll force stuff like removal spell onto the Delver, which is just very important to think about. I'm going to use the Bauble here on the opponent's turn, targeting my own library to higher the chance to flip the Delver. So now, good old Delver Mirror. Let's see if there's a card here that I'm going to be dazing. Delver. So what I could do now, so first of all, I should probably Bauble myself in response. And I draw another Delver. That's pretty cool. So what I could do right now is cash in my Daze, and I'm actually going to do that. So let's see. Yep, this happens. I'll Daze a Delver, and then I will replay a Delver, and hopefully Daze something like a Cutter. So I need to put this one on the stack first, draw the known card, and then see if I'm lucky. I was not lucky. Maybe next time. So let's see. Land, Delver. Now the opponent has to think about not getting run over. So it's kind of a situation where if they Daze, I Daze, that type of deal. Force a Will. I will Daze your Force a Will, well knowing that we're getting dangerously close to a Murktide Regent. Yeah, let's attack for Uno and pass. So now I'm hoping my opponent is on, another creature, like a Chandler or Delver. That's kind of the point about my, cashing in my Dazes and hanging on to the Bolt. Bolt can also be a card that finishes off my opponent at some point. They keep the card. I don't like that. So now even a Bolt will kind of stop this onslaught. Third Delver. That is very funny. So now I will have to put Delver on the stack, Delver on the stack, draw. And let's see if we get lucky. We don't get lucky. So let's attack for 2 and play Delver Secrets. Difference between flipping and not flipping Delver here, huge, obviously. We had help from 2 baubles, couldn't get there. Ooh, the opponent had the perfect ponder even. It looks like my opponent is playing around the coveted 3rd Daze here, which I think is overdoing it. But hey, I'm not the expert around here. So if I flip here, I attack with everybody. Well, I don't flip here. So now it's up to me whether I want to play around Daze or not. I think I'm not going to play around Daze for the fact that when my opponent forced the Delver, they didn't have Daze, so they could have found it in the meantime. But I think it's more likely that they didn't. So I'm going to slam Murktide Regente. Yep, brainstorm response. I like it. So the opponent could have made this bigger. Decided to play around 3rd Daze. And here's the issue with playing around 3rd Daze. If you end up in a position like this, and you're going to get dazed anyway, it's just not worth it, right? So the good thing is now we have a Murktide that is as big as the opponent's, and we are winning the race. So that's very good for us. They probably need a good turn now. Maybe some, like, cutter plus removal or something. That also works. So I'm kind of in the same spot as we have been a few times. All right. No Delver flip. And I will go Delver of Secrets, and I will wasteland my opponent. And you're up. So the opponent has stabilized here, and will be in trouble if I manage to flip at some point. My opponent knows about Murktide, and they might have a good idea about Bolt being my last card. Unholy Heat onto a Delver. Yes, sir. All right. Let's see. Brainstorm. The opponent is on the lookout for something. So let's see. If my opponent plays a 1-drop, do I end-step Bolt? I think I do, because if I have a fetch on top, I can slam... maybe I don't want to slam 4 for Murktide. Maybe that is too bad. Okay, maybe I hang on to the Smirk a little bit. So it's not as much about beating Daze as it is... just making sure the sizing on the Murktide makes sense. Oh, the opponent found 2nd Murktide. Awesome. Alrighty. Here's a 3rd Merc. 2nd Murktide, sorry. 8-8 and a 6-6. So now it's time to attack for the opponent. I like that a lot. Let's see. Can we do it? The Delver of Secrets. We cannot. All right. So, yeah, we're dead to the Murktides here. All right. Playing against the Delver deck, we have a ton of good cards here, which is pretty awesome. So 9 of these. I mean, that's awesome. The Wastelands aren't the best, but I mean, they're fine. They can cast Cutter and stuff like that. What I will consider is like 1 Daze over a Wasteland. I think that's reasonable. 1 Daze over a Wasteland. I like all of these other cards. They're just awesome. But now I'm adding black cards, so I have to think a little bit about how I fetch. All right. Let's see if we can do better. That was not the best showcase for Delver of Secrets, I must say. 4 1-1s laughing at me. It's always fun when you get situations like that. I saw a screenshot the other day of a buddy of mine finding 4 of the same card off Thundertrap Trainer, and that card was not something you could pick with Thundertrap Trainer, so that was another. Obviously, that is way more likely to happen than this. This is just highly unlikely, and the other one is almost impossible, right? But yeah, post-sideboard, we have amazing card quality, so it's a lot about if we get our mana under us, we are outclassing the deck. And then there's the fail rate of, you know, Wasteland being better out of my opponent's deck. All right. No Landes. And this looks great. So maybe get rid of Murktide here. I think getting rid of Murktide is decent. I think that card is quite unlikely to survive in general. So I think you want it just randomly sprinkled in. You don't want to prioritize it, essentially. So let's see. Turn 1 Delver, turn 2 Cutter. The cool thing about having Cutter in play is its potential. Right now it's not doing anything, but I think being on the play here is certainly the place for it. Turn 1 Delver. If it dies, sure. If it doesn't, whatever. Okay, the opponent feels lucky. I guess that's good for me. So let's see. Okay, so now let's keep casting stuff. I'll go for the red one here. Preordain, looking for more lands. So now, essentially, do I want these cards? I should probably take the Wasteland and not take the Pyroblast. I feel like that's a solid hedge against getting, like, Wastelanded out of the game. Delver getting in there. If the opponent has a second Wasteland, they can consider going for it, but I think it's a little bit iffy. Alright, so let's attack first here. I'm gonna second main phase this Cutter no matter what. This smells a little bit of Hydroblast, I must say, but I don't think I'm in a position to worry about Hydro. My opponent knows I haven't got any spell here, because then I would have first main phased it. Yeah. That's incredible for the opponent. Like, holding up a mana, right? And then actually connecting. That's very strong. So now the opponent probably has a million moves. They're getting attacked by Delver, so there's a little bit of life total to balance here. But also now they should know that I'm in trouble when I use my Wasteland as a mana source here. So my dream right now is to draw land so I can go Cutter Brainstorm. But this also means I'm not getting Wastelanded in the meantime, of course. The opponent knows I don't have Daze, because I would have dazed, you know, protecting the Cutter. Brainstorm. Okay, that's surprising that the opponent doesn't have better things to do than dig for better things, essentially. That's a little bit of a surprise. I don't like playing a land first, because Wasteland would have been so good for the opponent, and they just Daze check me, because I dazed this Hydroblast 10 out of 10 times, right? Get back my land, protect, get the Cutter into play. So they know I don't have Daze here. So if you don't play a land, you give yourself a chance to brainstorm into a 3-up Wasteland. Yeah, I sure am in trouble. I can't imagine not losing this game, but I hope to find some useful things en route to losing this game. Let me put it that way. Unholy Heat onto the Delver. And I draw the Ponder, so I guess we play Cutter and we hope for the best. The opponent found the Wasteland, so they could have ended me last turn rather, but they didn't. And here comes Murktide, and I'm in a world of trouble because that card is killing us very fast. Yeah, so let's cast Bobble and I guess lose the game. Unless we draw, like, land into land into Pyroblast or something along those lines. Tap land doesn't really count. Also, I let my opponent have their main phase here with mana. Unsure if that's good, actually, after seeing the hearse. That's probably bad play. Here comes the hearse. Because my opponent's... Okay, the opponent's not out of lands. Okay, so... Fair enough. Take 6. Take the draw, and I don't see what I'm supposed to draw here to win this game. Maybe, land, I guess, into Bubble. So let's play this card. Those cards are not going to do it. All right. Good games. We got bested in the red tempo mirror. Wasteland did the job. It was paid to do. And all is left is play my Demir deck. Okay. This is the third and final deck of the video. Let me quickly just get these Nile spell bombs into the picture. So Demir Tempo is the more solid, it's the less aggressive one. It has the most durability out of the tempo decks. I built my deck with a third spell bomb in the flex slot, I guess you can call it. Down to 3 borrowers, down to 2 dazes to make room for everything. I love 4 Tamios, 4 Nethergoyfs. I think it's very important to play a creature turn 1 as often as possible. Yep, Kaito is one of the best cards in the deck. If we can sneak that one in, we're doing well for ourselves. A couple of Murktides on top here. Brazens for mainly chalice removal, Murktide removal, that type of stuff. Bread and butter here with the pushes. Bread and butter with the thought seizes. They might be bad against Tua. Let's see about that. Sideboard-wise, we will like the Hydros. Let's see if Tamio is on the cards. I don't know by the time of this recording. Dismember, Baragoyf, Edict, Bowmaster, and Explosive. So again, a lot of good cards. These are crossover cards for stompy matchups, Merit Lage, any Ponder deck, Chalice. So this is just a good exercise to see how much crossover I can get into a certain matchup, even though they might not be meant for that matchup. So yeah, third and final match coming up. I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, last match of the set here. I'm playing Demir Tempo. Let's see. I'm going to keep 7. I keep 7. I have some solid stuff going on here. I'm hoping for this Orcish Bowmasters to be good. So turn 1, I can choose between Pondering or play around Daze, essentially. I'm actually heavily considering playing around Daze. Let's see here. They keep the card. I really want to play around Cutter here. So I go land pass. If my opponent has Cutter, I force pitch Ponder. They don't. They have that card. So this is fine. So now I go end step, fetch Surveil, and I try and Bowmaster the Delver. Force is a force pitch, so it lets me keep the other cards. So I think that's reasonable. So now I should think about what timing I want on my Bowmaster. I think what I want is upkeep, because I don't want my opponent to... I basically want my opponent to make a move on Surveil now. So cast Orcish Bowmasters with the intention to... So I could consider double forcing here. How does that sound? Is that crazy? Actually want a double force. I really want this Bowmaster. Let's try this. Not sure about this. I'm using a lot of cards here, but this card is also awesome. Spell Pierce, that's super funny. All right, let's see. Obviously, this is very bad for me that the opponent just used two, like, non-force cards. So here is... Yep, that is how you win the game. That is really, really awesome. So double Daze Pierce. That's the ideal. So you got, from the point of view of the opponent here, you got me to use 5 cards for your 3 cards. That is chef's kiss. The best thing that could ever happen in that scenario. Really cool. So I guess play that card. I guess play one more. And then on the draw step, I'm gonna do something here. Just crack a spell bomb, I think, is the move. Okay, I guess if the opponent does it now. So I guess I'll just cantrip on my opponent's graveyard here. I think that's super reasonable. Pass. So I know the opponent has some lands. Reveal Force of Will. Unclear if they have a play. Okay. So yeah, this is really bad. I think I'm supposed to draw a card. Let's see. Here's Tamiyo. The opponent has what? At least 1 lane and a force? And no bolt, apparently. Okay, so I guess I have somewhat of a chance here. If the opponent had a bolt, it would have cast it. Ooh, another Delver. That's a problem. Force of Will. Very bad. So now what do I need? I need some live card off the top, like a push to stem the bleeding. And even then, I get... forced. Let's see if we can do it. Brazen Borrower. Brazen Borrower, you say? That's probably a card I should hard cast. So let's see. What can my opponent do here? Flip with a bolt. Okay, that'll do it. Sideboard wise, good card, good card, good card, good card, good card. I don't think Image is good. I haven't seen I haven't seen Tamiyo out of the list. So these are good. And I probably just get rid of like 1 Thoughtseize, 1 Spell Bomb. That sounds right. I think this is decent. I don't have any bad counter spells. You know, Daze is reasonable and can be good, but my opponent's shown very good ability to play around Daze. And all of these cards are great. Drawing Thoughtseize, like the first one, is decent. Again, I can argue that I would rather have a Daze than a Wasteland. Maybe that's fine. All right. Let's see if we can get a game off of the opponent here. It's been... I don't think I've gotten a game. I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I can't go further, so this will have to do. I think I'll get rid of the Murktide. I feel like that card is not really gonna work. My opponent's also on a mulligan. I think the move is to hope to catch a 1-drop with my Bowmasters, and that I have a land here. Off of my Surveil, digging a couple of cards deep. Milling over Cutter. That's a little bit scary, I must say. Here's a land, so I like that. I think what I should do now is slam a Bowmaster. Let's do this. And then at the very least, my opponent has to kill that card and, like, move on. I'm making Daze as bad as possible here. Making Brainstorm as bad as possible for the opponent. Just trying to play like that, I think, is reasonable. So... okay, second lane is there. Chandler. Nice play. So here comes, I guess, Bolt onto the... sorry, the Bowmaster. Yeah. Bolt onto the Bowmaster. So if the opponent finds creature or sorcery, it's Delirious. Otherwise, I'm gonna slam Bowmaster. One more shot at it, and there it is. Nice. Perfect. Yeah, great play by the opponent. I will slam a Bowmaster here on the upkeep. So I'm gonna ping my opponent once and ping the Chandler once, I think. Oh, I didn't have to. Oh, shoot, I missed. I thought this was going to be a 2-2. Okay, well. Oh, well. Almost good math. So now my opponent saw that I missed my land drop, which could make them pounce. Here's a wasteland, so just... okay, unlicensed hearse. Yeah, you got it. I'm not too impressed with that card, but it's probably better than the card my opponent removed, right? So I'm down on a land here. Unclear if I'm interested in getting dazed on the Dismember. The opponent will attack here. I'm at 15. So I'm currently winning the race, so maybe I should just try and ride this. Let's see if I could find a land. That would be sweet. I do find a land. That's pretty awesome. My hand is decent, but maybe it could be better. This is maybe time for a brainstorm. Okay. I like my hand, but maybe I can do better. Okay. I think Nethergoyf is quite bad. So what else is quite bad here? One has a couple of cards. They prioritized Hearse over something like Murktide. I'm gonna get rid of Netherguard for sure. And then, am I getting rid of the Dismember? Is that crazy? So maybe if I get rid of Dismember, I go fetch Hydro this card. Then I keep a push. Maybe this is fine. Hydro. Also, they milled a Cutter. I should probably think more about that than I'm doing right now. They milled a Cutter. I am gonna Hydroblast, and I'm gonna attack for 4. And then I'm basically saying I want an answer for another 1-drop, and I want an answer for Murktide Regent. That's basically what I'm doing over here. Nice Wasteland from the opponent. That's maybe gonna do it. Because the Murktide is gonna be uncontested. Murktide first, Wasteland after. You love to see it. And a little bit of a brick here. Yeah, I'm in big trouble. All right. All right. All right. A lot of dead end ponders this match, unfortunately, or this video. I cannot recommend that if you're taking these decks to a tournament. You should hit on your ponders more often. So now I guess I'm technically winning the race, but my opponent's a Lightning Bolt deck. Also, if my opponent can cast much of anything, they can start eating their own yard to grow the Murktide. This is something cool that the opponent can do. I don't have any agency over it, right? I don't have any counterplay. It's just like if I draw land, I'm going to bounce this every time, no matter if there's a hearse or not. It's not going to change how I play. Let's see. The opponent is considering, are they the who's the beatdown essentially? And they decide that they're the beatdown. I must say I agree with them, and I don't like it. Here's hearse, and here's a land. So the problem with that land is, well, there's no problem with the land. The land lets me play the game. But this Brazen Borrower is getting pyroblasted in this game. That's the problem. But can I afford to think about that, even the slightest? The thing is, Tamio's a chump blocker. I'm probably baiting with this Tamio. Attack for 4. Because if this Tamio gets dazed, I would have gotten dazed on the petty theft anyway, right? So let's try this. So now I basically want to give my opponent the idea I don't have Brazen. Because I think if I get to chump block here, then I'm doing fine. I'm also, ironically, holding up Fatal Push for the hearse, which dodges Pyroblast. So let's imagine the opponent would rather try and attack for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. Then ironically, I have Fatal Push up. Chandler. Is Chandler delirious? That's the real question here. So if here comes, let's see, Pyroblast onto the Tamio, Crew. I push the hearse. I bounce this card. I have a chance. Pretty cool game. It turned into a good game. Okay. Uh-huh. So now I'm going to block, I think. Right? Block, cast Fatal Push on it. Fatal Push onto the hearse. Everything crushes me, essentially. My opponent doesn't have everything. Interesting. I didn't get dazed. This didn't die. Huh. So now what happens if I go... bounce the Murktide? Then what happens? In theory, I could give my opponent... like, they could try and trap me here with Pyro... No, yeah, they could trap me with Pyroblast. But I just feel like if they had Pyroblast, then they killed a Tamiyo crew with the now Delirious Chandler. I don't think they have that card. Which is probably pretty good for me overall. I think I'm only winning this game if my opponent has cantrips, essentially. Okay, well, let's try this. Attack with my 3/3. Bounce the Murktide. Get a little breathing room here. Don't let my opponent cast an instant to trade with this. Okay, great game, great game. This Bowmaster's probably shutting off more cards than I'm realizing. I'm just trying to make sense of it here. If my opponent has Bolt, they should bolt this card, like, crew, and attack for lethal. Like, ask me that question. They're gonna go to 3 here. Yeah, let's try and bounce that card. I'll upkeep, because I can't... I would want to do it on the draw step, but I don't think I can give my opponent that draw. So that worked. The opponent has now drawn a card. If they want to replay it, it's a 3/3. Which makes my army quite good. It's also funny that I pinged my opponent's Chandler this game. Is this a cutter turn that the opponent has waited for forever? Recast Murktide as a 3/3. So I guess we can kind of confirm my opponent is stuck with cantrips in hand. Wasteland is probably a bad card. So let's see. What I can do now is clear the... if I clear the Tamiyo, that's kind of bad. So let's see. If I kill off my own Tamiyo and their Chandler, I attack with both. My opponent trades off the Orc army. I attack them down to 1. If only there was a way I could find 1 more damage this game. Do I want to kill my own Tamiyo? That's basically the question here. I want to kill my own Tamiyo to get... force that chum block, put my opponent to 1. I think that might be the move. Okay, so let's see. Engineered explosives for Uno. Land. Attack. Crack explosives. Force that trade. Put my opponent to 1. I have a clue. I have a brazen. I have a bowmaster. I don't know if this... I think this was good, but... Okay. So we got to win a really cool game here, where I guess the hate bear of Bowmaster won me this game. I thought it was super dead twice to the Wasteland, but I drew the land every time to not just die. That's great for content, so you guys get one more game here. That's pretty cool. Now on the draw, Daze is a lot worse. Which card? Yeah, Thoughtseize is not great either. I think I like this setup. I could consider Wasteland now, but I think if the opponent just goes turn 1 random creature, I think it's just not viable. So let's resubmit here. All right, last game of the video. I hope you guys are having a good time. I had a fun time here playing against a good buddy of mine, getting mainly crushed, but you know, that's all good. Thankfully, we had a lot of cool scenarios in the mix, so I take those. All right, this hand is pretty cool. I can probably play off basics and build towards Baragoyf. Unfortunately, the third land in this hand is a sewers. One in milling over Wasteland. Doesn't necessarily tell us much. Let's fetch basic island, go Tamiyo. Okay, so I get dazed here. That's probably not that bad. Opponent dazes a Daze into the graveyard. So is this a one-lander that's trying to work? Could very well be a one-lander that's trying to do work. Okay, so I guess the opponent had another land. Let's see if they can get to Delirium. That would be brutal. Spell Pierce into the graveyard. Yeah, lots of situational cards that kind of aren't that great. So here comes Tamiyo. Here comes Surveil Land. Here comes Ponder into the graveyard. I mean, I have a Murktide. I have spells to cast. I'm not looking to be worse against Wasteland here. So is this gonna be a cutter draw? Nope, it's gonna be Big Murk. Okay. So here's Big Murk. Opponent with 4 cards. I draw Murk. Not a big Murk though, but I did draw Murk. So let's see. I want to go... No, I shouldn't go Swamp here, I feel like. I feel like Wasteland is not something I should consider here. I want to play Baragoyf here. 2 days is gone. I don't think I can play around the 3rd days. Nice one. Nice one. All right. So some bread and butter play out of the Isid deck. Love to see it. So let's see. The 6/6. I'll take 6 damage here. Nethergoyf. Nethergoyf is not ideal here. So let's see. How big can I make my Murktide Regent? Not big enough is the answer. So the problem is also my opponent has Pyroblast here. Maybe also no, I guess not Hydroblast. We're not playing that matchup anymore. My opponent has Pyroblast here. That's kind of the issue. So I think in order for me to win this game, I need to find a removal spell for this one. I need my Edict to work on the Channeler. So now the opponent will have to think about what black cards I can go and find with this card. And they... Oh, second Spell Pierce. That is... that's... strangely... Yeah, weird. Weird card. So, sure. My opponent's in the market for basically taking my turn here. Which I may or may not care about. I think it's fine, actually. I'm looking for... Yeah, let's see. So Orcish Bowmasters against somebody without Delirium could be good. I think that's okay. So next turn I can go, what? Orcish Bowmasters Chump Blocker. So let's go like this, pass. Now I intend to Chump Block the Murktide. I think this is my way out of this. If I'm going to win this game, it's going to be Chump Block, Bowmaster this, Chump Block again with the Tameo on top, and then Edict that card. Something along those lines. I think that's somewhat decent. 1, 2, 3 cards in the graveyard. Did he just ruin the video? Yeah, I think he just may have ruined the video. I guess we can just laugh it off and... I'll just ask if he wants to win or play it out. He can choose. He's a big boy. All right. He wants to play without the Tameo. That's fair. All right, that'll do it. Let's wrap up the games with 2. All right, we are back with the recap. We just had a 3-match series. I played Reanimator, my version of Cutter, and Blue Black Tempo, and I played against my awesome friend Tue, who just started a YouTube channel. So the free plug is here. Where can people find you here just before we get things underway?
Thanks, Andreas. Yeah, I'm TrueTempo on YouTube. On Twitter, it's TrueTempo. And there's an awesome range of 3 videos so far, more or less.
What a huge bag of candy here. Okay, I see.
Yeah. The weekend is assured for all legacy tempo lovers.
Yeah. I mean, perfect. So Friday entertainment is secured, and now we got a little bit of a Thursday morning entertainment. So we agreed that it would be cool for you to play your current favorite version of classic tempo, and I would kind of play 3 quote unquote similar decks against you as some kind of a gauntlet. The details were essentially we picked versions we would sign up to a tournament with. So it's not like I was like, oh yeah, let me play 4 Bowmasters in my Reanimator deck because I'm going to be playing against this guy, right? So trying to be true to that, but still play with somewhat open, not open deck list, but open archetype. So yeah, maybe we should talk a little bit about the first matchup. You knew it was going to be Reanimator, so I remember you won the die roll. Like, what's your mindset? You sit down across for a known Reanimator player. Like, what are you looking to do with your deck?
Like, I really want to put a threat into play because my game plan is winning or getting you to like 7 or 8 life before you can reanimate one of your big guys. So I feel like the late game is clearly in your favor if I don't get some aggressive beats going. And beyond that, I have 2 Spell Pierce in my deck, which is kind of there to give me some playing space against your combo.
Yeah.
Then I also have to respect your Murktide, of course. But yeah, I want an aggressive hand. I can't play a long game against you, just dirtling with cantrips.
Yeah. Yeah, so if I recall correctly, I was trying this game to maneuver having enough life total and then finishing with an enemy dead. So I had a pretty cool hand of Force of Negation, Force of Will, and 2 blue cards. So when I initiated the fight on the end step here, and you let it resolve, I was like, oh shoot, either I'm like super cooked, or you're trying to play quote unquote smart with a bolt draw. So I was actually quite confident going into my turn, but then when the second Daze arrived, I was like, okay, yeah, you got me here. Like you're gonna get me good here. How did you kind of evaluate this Entomb on the stack versus my deck construction, my life total? Like, what was it like from your side?
I think what was important for me there was that you had an island. So I was thinking, like, I had double Daze and Force blue card, which was a brainstorm, which could theoretically dig for a bolt in that case if that came up. But
Yep.
I wasn't planning on that as a plan A. But the fact that you had an island and a swamp meant that if you're gonna go Entomb and then Thoughtseize Reanimate, you kind of need a lot of cards to line up. Plus, that means that my Dazes should be good because you're using a lot of mana. If you had the animate dead, then the Dazes are good anyways. But I didn't count on that since it's a low probability.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have you spend your black mana on your turn. Because I was thinking it's going to be this turn, and that's going to seal the game.
Yes.
So I don't want to fight now,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. And also, I didn't even have life to Thoughtseize. I think I was at 9 or 10, one of the two, at least. I didn't have the life. It was animate dead or bust or play reanimate into bolt being lethal.
Yeah. Well, so you could Thoughtseize animate that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like that was yeah.
Thoughtseize animate dead was possible for sure. So yeah, I think this is just a good lesson of, if you hear it on some podcast, oh yeah, fight over the Entomb because they have 5 reanimation spells. Like, there's so many detailed layers to this. And because Daze was your interaction and I was under so much pressure, and that was the showdown of the game. If I succeed, I win. If I don't succeed, I lose, right? It was the critical showdown of the game, I would argue. Then it's just good to make me spend the extra mana, essentially. So this is, I guess, the equivalent to don't counter the tutor, but this here you actually had good reasons to not counter the tutor because you wanted me to spend more mana, right? So yeah, that exchange was terrible for me. That matchup was a little bit weird. I think game 2, I drew 4 Tamios, 4 Brainstorms, 4 Thoughtseizes. I just did a whole lot of nothing. I was churning. I couldn't really get my feet on the ground, and I believe this is the game you mulligan to 5. So what I said from my side was, when the Delver deck mulls to 5, they don't have the luxury to have prioritize interaction. Like, I'm not going to get bolted. I'm not going to get wastelanded. I'm not going to get forced. You simply don't have that luxury. You will be playing threats. So I knew from the get-go that I needed to develop and do stuff. But yeah, I mean, when you're turn 2 brainstorm bricks, it's a tough one, a tough day at the office. So yeah, how do you approach the mulligan to 5? Am I spot on here?
Yeah, I was like, I had to, like, I think I bottomed Unholy Heat and an extra land or something, and just tried to make a condensed aggressive draw.
Yeah.
And try to beat like some of your deck, but I couldn't plan on beating all of your deck. So I think I was like, if you have a quick combo, I can't beat that, but I can beat like a Burgoyf, I can beat a Murktide. And I can't beat removal and Tameo. There's a lot of stuff I can't beat, but at least I have like a draw that makes sense. And because you gave me the time, it was good enough for a win. But I was definitely not counting on that.
No, but this is a good lesson, right? So when you're behind from the get-go odds-wise, you cannot just say, oh, let me keep this wasteland, or let me keep this bolt, or let me keep this pyroblast. You have to kind of pick a lane here, and I think the creatures are the only viable option. If you start interacting with me, we trade cards. That's so good for the 7-card hand compared to the 5-card hand. So I think the only way you can win that game is by me not having a good draw, obviously, and then you being aggressive and punishing me for it, giving me less time, essentially.
Yeah, it's kind of a rare occurrence in Magic, but it does happen on a daily basis if you play enough these kind of games where you just have to keep believing, and sometimes you get there.
Yeah,
If you,
exactly. I like that a lot. Focus on what you actually can beat instead of like giving yourself a false sense of yeah, I guess I was in this game for 6 turns, but yeah, from the get go you have important decisions to make. Then next up, we were on to my version of a cutter. So I started off. I had an awesome draw. I had double Delver, double Daze. How can I possibly lose? I don't remember this game. What transpired? How could I possibly lose with that awesome draw?
yeah, it was crazy because it was like I played a Delver that you dazed, and I was like, that's fine. Delvers, they trade off in the mirror. I'm kind of happy that you give me the play land-wise by dazing and a 1-drop early. Then you had another Delver, and I was like, huh. I'd kept I believe I mulliganed actually to 6
Yeah, I
here
think you
as well.
mulligan and forced the Delver.
Yeah, and then I'd chosen to keep 2 forests instead of 1 forest and a third land, because I was like, I can't get rid of both of these forces, but let's assume that they have a cutter draw that is really cutter on and nothing else.
Yeah,
Then I force that,
yeah,
and we have a game.
yeah,
Then when you play the second Delver, I'm like,
yeah. It's
that's
time.
that's dangerous. So and then you daze my force, so now I'm completely sure
Yeah,
that
how can I possibly lose that game?
it's over. And then I cantrip, I see a Murktide, and I'm like, okay, maybe I can stonewall you with a Murktide.
Yeah,
And that's what happened. You never flipped. It's crazy. Like, I guess you drew more Delvers than lands.
I drew 4 Delvers, a couple of lands, even 2 baubles to help try and flip them.
Yeah,
So
but not flip.
yeah, that was not ideal. So your Murktide stabilizes, and I believe you draw your second Murktide. Yeah, you draw your second Murktide. I never flipped the Delvers. You draw your second Murktide, and then all of a sudden you win because I just draw some bricks. That was just probably never going to happen again. But it was a cool game of you give yourself the chance. You have to, you fire a Force Will on a freaking Delver because otherwise you're doing that because your only chance is I draw bricks and you get time to draw nut bricks essentially, right? So even though getting dazed there is incredibly punishing in 99 out of 100 games, I think that was the coolest thing of our run here. That there's a lot of these. I'm not going to necessarily say unique games, but very very special and corner case games. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. It felt like a lot of weird, but it's like part of Magic, but it's like the small minority of
Yeah,
games. But it also like forcing there. So I got dazed, but that also means that my Murktide didn't get dazed. And of course, you can't plan for that. I didn't know that the Murktide was coming, but it's just part of these Daze matchups that sometimes you have to eat a Daze at some
yeah,
point where it hurts, but later then maybe you'll reap the rewards of having more lands or having a threat that sticks. And
yeah.
it's part of the whole math that you can try to do.
Certainly. So speaking of days, I believe we let me put it this way. There was a situation, but that was the first match, right? Where I finally get to bounce your Murktide. You have 2 mana, but you don't replay it. I have 1 card left in hand. So talk to me about that from your POV.
Yeah, it was like low resource game, and as I remember, you didn't have a good day's opportunity before, so I felt like there's a decent chance that it was a days. You would have played a lot of cards otherwise that could have been like active cards,
Yeah,
and the game was really down to so few cards that I felt like this Murktide was gonna win the game a big portion of the time. Postponing it because I had my land drops was a risk or like a price I was willing to pay
yeah,
to play around that potential days. I feel
right.
like if I get dazed, the game is basically over for me because I don't have any more threats. It's not really over, but then I have to count on having good draws.
Yeah,
So
because I was at 4 this game, remember? So this
yeah,
was like me really slugging it out and having a Brazen Borrower in my exile, and that's about it. So it's
mm,
basically just the price was right. The delaying yourself was the right 1 turn was the right price to pay because the difference between the Merc and not the Merc in play was so big, right?
yeah, and it's hard to justify finding draws that make it better to just keep playing when you
Yeah.
have the lands and not gas in hand.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like super heads up, and it's pretty cool to have that from two POVs because I'm also rolling out the red carpet and calling you all sorts of names, starting the fan group and all of that stuff. That was just insane to see. So I love that one. So after you crushed me when I was on Reanimator and Cutter, it was up to Demir Tempo, right? So Demir Tempo, you want to play against Red Tempo any day of the week. Not quite sure. I think I cast maybe one fatal push in the whole match and no Nethergoyfs, and it was it was super weird draws, like super weird draws. I don't know. How did it feel from your POV? Because you've obviously played against Demir a lot.
Yeah, it's a bad matchup, like one of the worst, I think, and kind of the main reason why. I don't know if it's what other people think, but for me, it's the biggest reason to not play Is It Delver is because Demir Tempo is a big deck, pretty big, and feels like a 40-60 matchup. So bad, like your spell bombs make channelers and Murktides weak
Yeah,
to even to Bowmasters, and your Bowmasters are awesome against Delver. Your Kaitos are awesome against Murktide. I can't do much about it. Like I have Power Blast in the board, but you have so many angles
yeah,
that punish me, and you get ahead. Your Nethergoyfs, I can't deal with them, and then your Barragoyfs afterboard. It's just awful. And these games, like we had a few Bowmaster games where you either made life hard or won by Bowmastering me.
yeah.
You had a spell bomb that delayed my Murktide, which was otherwise I was really poised to win. You had a key turn where you need to find Wasteland or spell bomb or something like that. Or maybe I'm mixing things up, but the spell bombs were relevant.
I had spell bomb a game where I had a million lands and two spell bombs, and then
Yeah.
but I could kind of slow down the game to some extent, right?
Mm. But yeah, it just felt like you never had or in a few spots, but mostly you didn't have the clutch advantage points at the
No,
ready.
I didn't have any. I didn't have any like none of the games. It was just kind of funny. None of my games, my deck played out as like not even medium, not even close to medium. I was scrapping every single game, like not
Yeah.
flipping Delvers, trying to. I guess the Reanimator game was maybe the closest one to like a normal game. Although I did win a match, win a game rather. I won one game. I think that was the Bowmaster game where you got locked on cantrips, and I think I end up finding a pretty interesting engineered explosives line where I killed my own Tameo. That was kind of a cool game.
Trade. Yeah. That was a cool game, and even in that game, I feel like if I draw a removal spell
Yeah,
early in that, then
yeah,
I'm winning still.
yeah. I need you
So
to have mono blanks in like
mm.
your hand and a couple of draw. Like it was not coasting at all. Like it was terrible, really terrible.
And I don't know if I guess that's also what we're trying to elaborate here. But for the viewers, I don't think that you should go out and just like stop playing Demir and play Is It everyone because it's not always like this.
What are you talking about? Yeah. You're gonna see a 3/4 Nethergoyf or somebody not missing their land drop or somebody playing. It's gonna happen for sure. But that's
Yeah.
it's a big part of also when people talk about, oh yeah, this matchup is like tough, but I actually think any matchup in Magic is like between 60-40. I'm not that interested. Like I don't believe in these like 90-10, or I don't believe in those narratives. So I believe in something can be slightly favored, but you still have to play the game, and you can still lose to triple Daze or double Wasteland or whatever, right? It's just part of
Yeah.
what the tempo deck does. It can win unlikely situations with clutch timed disruption.
Yeah. And that's a good reason why if you like playing some flavor of a deck that is worth it, just keep grinding and getting that advantage when you know where you know your deck and you know how to play, even if the metagame is slightly not favorable for that kind of deck, because maybe your playing skill will make you good enough and to get those small edges.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a good lesson. I think that's going to do it for today. Hopefully we have more lined up for you guys in the future. Tua and his tempo adventure, and then I can run some gauntlets and see if I can take a match win off you next time.
Sweet. let's hope on that. I can't win every game. That's weird.
No, yeah, that would be a fake confidence, and I would be a bad friend. So
Yeah.
with that said, that's gonna do it for today. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Go check out TrueTempo on YouTube, and yeah, I'll see you back next time.